So as kind of was said, premium grocery is in a bit of a renaissance, especially in New York City right now. So I think just to kick things off, I'd love to hear from all of you. What are you seeing in terms of a premium grocery resurgence? And for those of you who have been in the business for a while now, what has kind of evolved over the years and what is kind of driving this change?
Well, I think not necessarily. I don't know if I would say it's people are looking for luxury as much as I think people are starting to take their health back. I think people are paying more attention to ingredients. People are paying more attention to what's on the label. People are paying more attention to where their food is coming from, how the farmers are being treated, and I think that matters more than maybe it has in the past. And I think people are willing to pay a higher price when that item checks most of those boxes. And so I think we're starting to see just people being more aware and looking for elevated items across the board.
You know, at Murray's, we tend to see our business thrive in moments of economic uncertainty. Premium grocery is an affordable luxury, and it's a way to brighten up everyday moments within our lives. And so when consumers are feeling the pinch on their wallets kind of across the board, they may not be spending as much on those bigger ticket items and instead are looking for everyday luxuries that allow them to kind of close the gap between everyday life and the trip to Europe that they may not be taking this year. And so in the specialty cheese space in particular, you know, it's an easy way to dress up a table, to impress guests, to elevate a gifting experience, and we certainly see that echoed in our business this year and historically.
And at Citarella, and I agree, I think, you know, luxury really could be a choice. It's being accessible and understanding that those fresh products and those stories and where you're sourcing it from is the most important thing. And I think at Citarella, most of our, you know, customers have always made sure they were getting fresh seafood. We started with fresh seafood, so we continue that in every area that we grew our company, and I think our customers truly look for that. And I think it's been, with all these options out there, truly understanding that we are selecting the best things for them, and we've kind of cleaned that up for you to allow you to come in and have a great shopping experience with accessible options as choices.
Yeah, and like Helen's saying, I think a big piece of it is also shoppers are now looking for an experience, and now that everything is so accessible and highly digitized, I think to feel like you can go to a place and feel a sense of where your food is coming from and trust the source is massive, and that's a luxury in its own right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd love to hear from all of you, who do you feel like is the core consumer of each of your stores, and has that changed or evolved over the years?
So it's changed quite a bit. So Butterfield Market has been around for over 100 years, and the original market, and even our Madison store, has a huge following of local customers who've been coming there forever, you know, an older generation. And over the last probably 5 years, as we've gotten more involved with digital and social media, we've seen a huge influx of a younger generation coming in and wanting the experience and taking pictures. And so we've really seen a significant change. We've been able to keep our original, you know, long-time customers. I think similar to what Helen said, because we've been around for so long and we've been such a staple that I think that they still know they can come to us and trust us with our prepared foods. But we've definitely seen through Instagram and other social platforms a large influx of the younger generation coming in.
I would echo that experience very much at Murray's as well. We haven't been around for 100 years, but since the 60s, so we're also a heritage brand, heritage experience. We operate 2 retail stores in the city and an e-commerce business, and when you look at the entirety of our sort of direct-to-consumer business in New York City, about 40% of it, 40% of our sales comes in the last 6 weeks of the calendar year during holiday. So we're a heavy gifting business, right? And our gifting customer is very different than kind of the day-to-day customer who keeps our store and our website running, the other 10 months out of the year. And in our retail locations, we're very much tied to the daytime population of the neighborhoods in which we operate our stores. And the post-pandemic market dynamics and in-office culture have greatly impacted what that daytime population looks like, specifically in the West Village. And so we are, a lot of the longtime customers who lived in the West Village have sort of maybe moved out of the city or moved off to other places. They're being replaced in the West Village with a younger customer whose interests are different, whose disposable income level is a little bit different, and we're really kind of have spent the last couple of years pivoting how we think about engaging that consumer, from everything from our merchandising strategy to our pricing strategy, as well as our customer engagement strategy. So similar to what Helen was speaking about in terms of the experience, Murray's, we're kind of a tongue-in-cheek brand. We're an old village staple. We really want to invite customers in for what we believe is a really fun and exciting experience, specialty cheese. And so we've spent the last year with investing a lot in engagement events. So we will do things like our design team built a 10-foot ruler, put it in the front of the store, and we had a grilled cheese stretching competition that we put on our social media. Our teams tried to break the Guinness Book of World Record with the largest ball of mozzarella. I don't think we made it. It was pretty big though. And then, and most recently we did an Alp festival where we actually had an Alp horn player, the gentleman responsible for the Ricola tune that we all know from their commercials. And so we're really looking for ways to kind of make the shop a destination within the city to bring those customers in, because winning in the fourth quarter really requires us to be building a conversation and trust and awareness with our customer base throughout the year. And so we look to kind of more affordable price points and interesting discovery items, as well as that engagement throughout the year to bring them back in Q4.
I think the engagement at store level is what it's all about. I think our people, our expertise is one of the things we really lean in on to ensure we're giving that full customer experience. Like I said, with social and all of the information out there, to clean up that information and have it for your customers is really important. As far as the trends, I think what Citarella really strives on is our staples and continuing to drive fresh from the source and ensuring that's why people are coming in and peppering in that innovation around. So that way we continue to get that next generation. Us too, we have a very older generation that now is going into the children and grandchildren and keeping that a part of their traditions and their staples. And Citarella, while having some of that fun innovation, is really what it's about right now.
It's kind of hard for me to answer this because we are the new kid on the block, and I would say we don't quite know our core customer yet. The dream is people in the neighborhood, and we really aren't a grocery store. We're a prepared food store with a curated selection of groceries, but we have a real mix. We get tons of people from Citibank and One World Trade and people who are just grabbing lunch. We get families in the neighborhood. Delivery's been a massive, massive revenue stream. So it really changes by the month for us right now, and it's helpful for me to hear from you guys who have been in this for much longer exactly what that core customer base is, but I would say it's still changing for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going off of that, Frances, I'm curious for all of you, what part do you feel like you play in your customer's journey of grocery shopping as premium groceries, or maybe have different levels of what you offer consumers? Are they coming for their full shop? Are they coming to try a viral product that they saw on TikTok? What part do you feel like you play, and how are you kind of leaning into that?
I think it's both, and I think to go off what Helen's been saying, there's so much out there, and so I think our job is to decide okay, what's the best four that I can put on the shelf for you? Mm-hmm. And some of it is price point, right? We will have a good, better, best level, but really being able to filter through all of the new items and all of the innovation, and trusting Butterfield to give you what we think are maybe the top 3 to 5 of those hot sauces, of those oils, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. We're going to make sure that we're giving you what you need, because there's just so much coming at you right now.
And I would say similarly, it's a very dynamic relationship that we have with our customer and the role that we play. We're a specialty cheese shop. My team would tell you I'm famous for saying that we win when we lead with cheese, that customers come to us for cheese. That's what they want. But unless you're my French husband, you're not necessarily wanting to go to the specialty cheese shop every day, or not. Maybe you aren't going. Maybe you want to, but you aren't. So it's really for us about sort of staying connected with the consumers and the customers, and really understanding kind of how it's shifting and testing things. So if we've been building out our beer category and our non-alcoholic beverages category, and we're really seeing traction in those categories as customers say, yeah, we're interested in that. We've recently built out more of our sort of standard, center aisle, if you will, grocery selection, because there's not a lot of places in the neighborhood between Citarella and Murray's where you can pop in and get dinner and a roll of toilet paper, right? So we're really looking to figure out kind of like, what do our customers want? What's going to bring them back? And we're really very open to making sure that our shelves reflect their needs in a way that's meaningful and true to our values. But the cheese case is always front and center.
And I think for us, I totally agree. For Citarella, it's being able to say no as much as saying yes. Because for us, it's about making sure that the product is delicious and amazing and belongs on our shelves. And so being selective and choosing those right things, like you're saying, because you may have a line of 12 and maybe only 2 are right for us. And ultimately, we give people the opportunity and vendors the opportunity to be on our shelves, but ultimately it's our guests that decide if the product's going to stay or not. Is it going to be a part of our selection for long term and ultimately turn into a staple that we carry? So
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think a big piece of it for us is Sammy and I are both on the floor pretty constantly, and we're receiving very consistent feedback. And we say, what kinds of salads do you want? What kinds of sandwiches do you want? And part of the perk of being brand new is it is a blank canvas, and we have very little pride in the game, and it is a really open dialogue with customers to understand what they want and know that we are only as happy as they are, and striving to serve them is the priority.
And I think some of you touched on this a little bit, but I'm curious to hear a little bit more about the in-store experience, because I know you all kind of have very unique experiences in-store for consumers. So how are you kind of differentiating both from other premium grocers out there and also traditional grocers with the in-store experience?
I think at Butterfield, we do really want it to be about discovery. So we do try and make sure that things are curated and merchandised in a way where people are discovering new foods. So if they come in to buy something for dinner at the prepared, behind our showcase, they're also going to see something that they haven't seen before that maybe they'll take home with them. And we also, it's a family-owned business, and I think that the staff recognizes that, and the energy within the store is really positive. Our managers know a lot of customers by name. There's a lot of back and forth. We talk to our customers a lot, to add about what they want, what they're looking for, and so I think also just creating that warmth and sort of local, store feeling that they know they can come into, and also find something new and fun is what keeps it going.
I would echo that. The role of curation is so important. Our customers are coming to us because they trust our judgment. They trust us to make selections and decisions about the foods that we sell that meet their expectations and help them achieve a level of aspirational expression, self-expression that is meaningful to them. Obviously, Murray's, we're a little bit unique because we are, specialty cheeses at anchor. And I've always said, in this country, we're much more comfortable with our wine knowledge than our cheese knowledge on a broad basis. And so Murray's invests a lot of time and effort into training our cheesemongers in order for them to be both educated and confident and welcoming to our customers when they come in the door. Because at the end of the day, we want our customers to come in because they're curious about cheese, but to walk away having learned something new and discovered something that's going to brighten their day and make a memory that they will want to come back for.
It's all about the experience. As a luxury gourmet market, I think we started as a small seafood shop and really wanted to maintain that gourmet market feel at each of our locations, meaning like our meat department being almost like your local butcher. We're not going to say we're just like your local cheese shop, but we have our local cheese. And so you can have a one-stop shop experience while having this curated European, luxury experience in gourmet markets. And so we pride ourselves again on training the team. It's so important to give them the education that they've become artisans in their own craft. Whether you are a fishmonger or you're a cheesemonger, you're a butcher, we've given them that exposure to amazing products and that education to help translate that to our customer, which is a very educated customer about food, about everything. And so we get to, again, give them that clean experience as they come into our markets.
Yeah. I think similar to what Elizabeth was saying, there's a very fine line with discovery between it being a source of inspiration for a customer or it being very overwhelming. And I think particularly now in the world of CPG, it's so highly saturated and good marketing and good branding feels nearly ubiquitous. So being able to curate it to a point where the consumer can look through the branding and they can look through incredible packaging and they can actually say, I believe this tortilla chip is good because it's here, is really nice. And I think it alleviates a burden to a grocery shopper. And that was a huge priority for us when we were sourcing. And we want it to be a discovery platform, but not one that's overwhelming, where everything looks similarly enticing. So I think saying no is important.
I think it's interesting because it's almost about removing some of the decision legwork from the customer, right? So like I popped in your store last week to check it out, and the curation, it's so curated, so tightly curated, which meant that there weren't that many decisions to be made, right? And Murray's on the other hand, we have so many products, but the role of our cheesemonger is to kind of take the hand of the customer and say, what are your preferences? What are you looking for? Let me help you make that decision. Let me take some of that responsibility of decision making off your shoulders and really point you to the right product at the right moment.
Yeah, going off of that, I'm wondering if you guys can kind of share what your CPG product curation approach is like. What are you kind of looking for in CPG products when you put them on the shelves?
I mean, again, I think packaging is a lot, but it's also, there's so much of it. So, it is, where is it coming from? What are the ingredients? Who is it owned by? Again, how are the animals or plants treated? How are the farmers treated? All of that. What is going into the product? And what makes it a little bit different from the rest? Because again, I'm sure we all just get bombarded with the same items over and over. Like, what's going to make it stand out? Does it tell a story? Is it local? I mean, we try to, depending on the department, if it's bakery, if it's fresh, we really try and work with local brands. Do they have a story we can tell? Is it someone, we really want to shine a light on? Those are the things that we really look for.
For us, it starts with a clean label. Are the ingredients things that we know and recognize? Are they things that we want to ingest? Then the next question is, does it taste really, really good? Right? And if those two things are true, then we'll put it up against the other criteria. Well, what's the price point? What's that going to look like from a consumer perspective? How does that sit within the other products we have in that subcategory? And do we believe that the consumer is going to perceive the relationship between the cost and the flavor to be a value that is what they're looking for, right? So we're pretty standard, I would say, on that.
I echo both you ladies as well. We're all about the source, the story. I want to hear from you and understand why you made this product. Like, there's some really great new products. I know you guys have just sour milk and their story and why they made it, and I love hearing those things, and it makes it very real. We are a family-run business. We started, we looked for the best people. And so continuing to do that with these brands is really important. And I think that's what customers are excited about.
I would say that at Meadow Lane, we follow that 80% of the time. And then the other 20% of the time, you find Heinz ketchup and Duke's mayonnaise and Diet Coke. And I think for us, it's important that when we're striving to find the best in each category, sometimes that is Heinz ketchup. And we don't love what it says on the back of the label, but it's the best ketchup there is, and that's that. And I would say the through line for our curation is really quality, and there's a sense of nostalgia that we like to lean into. And it's really just about taste and what we think will make our customers happy. And then 80% is emerging brands with a story and a good label.
And I can add to that as well. I mean, yes, we also, I think also given the history and you know, the long-standing customers that we've had at Butterfield, yes, I mean, we carry Hellmann's mayonnaise. You know, you also have your customers who, you know, are going to want Coca-Cola. So those are things that we are going to offer. But yes, I would say, you know, majority of our offerings are, you know, more carefully curated.
I think it really speaks to walking that fine line of where you stand on the customer's journey and balancing that with kind of what they expect from you as well. And it's, you know, you can never be when you're too dogmatic about it, you're going to leave some customers on the table. And if you're too lax about it, you're going to alienate the sort of core customer base. So it really is like figuring out what that balance looks like between the toilet paper, the Heinz, I'm a Heinz ketchup girl.
It's hard. We love
Yeah, Hellmann's mayonnaise and the you know, the award-winning Gruyere from a single producer in the Alps, right? So.
Elizabeth, you kind of mentioned price points earlier, and I have to mention, you know, obviously this renaissance is coming at a time when a lot of consumers are very price conscious. So I'm curious for all of you, what is your approach to like entry price points or accessibility for those consumers to kind of be able to still let them have an option in stores?
Well, I mean, again, we do have like a good, better, best tier that we try and work off of. You know, having something that can come in at a lower price point that's more accessible to everyone. I mean, both of our markets, we do cater to a higher price bracket. And so we do have the luxury of being able to offer sometimes a higher retail. But that being said, I mean, you know, it's really also working with our vendors and making sure that, you know, it's a win-win for both of us. And if we need to negotiate so that, you know, we can come down to a lower retail and both parties can still meet their margins, you know, that's an ongoing conversation that we're always having. So, you know, making sure that, you know, they're doing well, but that, you know, we feel comfortable where we know we can retail it at a price that's going to sell.
And I would echo the good, better, best framework. I think it's, you know, pretty par for the course in retail. We also think about pricing strategy from like more so from like a merchandising strategy, product selection perspective, and as a customer engagement strategy. So when we're, you know, looking at a shifting customer base and knowing that we need to start building our next generation of customers, it's a younger customer, or the neighborhood demographics have shifted. You know, we've really looked kind of, you know, beyond the sort of EDLPs within our cheese group into like the grocery categories and said, okay, well, what's going to bring somebody in the door, you know, who doesn't have as much disposable income as, you know, our core customer? What's going to entice them, you know, to pick up a bar of chocolate, you know, if what we're, you know, sort of the top of the category is like $17, $18 for a fancy bar of chocolate. Where's the bottom of that category from a pricing perspective, and where does that compare to sort of broad, you know, big box supermarket prices in the city as well? Because we recognize that customers have a choice, and selection is pretty ubiquitous. I mean, you can find specialty foods in all the grocery stores, right? So the role of like the smaller, you know, footprint boutique retailer in this space becomes more of it's that curation. It's a careful decision about what you're going to put on your shelves with an understanding of what that price range needs to look like, and really curating the different price points to the different customers that you're looking to bring in.
It's all about that balance and accessibility. And the way people have shopped has changed so much, I'm going to say post-COVID. It was a very service-driven business beforehand and shifted to a much more grab-and-go type. I think even the younger generation, not a lot of time and wanting to. So really understanding how you curate some of those things in our grab-and-go breakfasts and things like that allow there to be accessibility across the board. So it's not just the high-end grocery, but we have grab-and-go lunch and things like that are allowing us to have both the flexibility, I guess, or the, what did you say, first, second, best?
Good, better, best.
And allow you to, you know, you can buy everything from tuna to olive oil in that broad span. And so it's an important selection process, like the ladies are saying. I agree.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same for us, and we have much more accessible products, and we purposefully charge pretty low amounts for things like the chicken salad, which is $12, which is pretty much no margin for us. So we attempt to do that where we can, but We've also found that for majority of our customers, people are really willing to spend disproportionately in the name of health and wellness. And when it comes to health and wellness and service of food and beverage, it's massive what people are willing to spend. So we basically charge as little as we can to make it functional with our labor, and we're gonna see how it goes, but we're only a few months in, so.
And you're only a few months in, but you've already had quite a viral moment, or many viral moments, pretty much since you've opened. So I'm curious to hear from you, Frances, and also you, Elizabeth, with the dot cakes revolution that still seems to be happening.
Yeah.
Like, how do you kind of handle having a viral moment? Like, what are the pros and cons, and kind of how do you handle that?
It was a lot. The dot cakes, it was interesting because we had been carrying them for quite some time. And then, I guess it was 1 or 2 postings on TikTok, and it was just this overnight explosion. It was great in the fact that it really brought in a huge amount of people. It was a lot on our staff. It was a lot on labor. So, we wanted to make sure that they were just prepared and that, we could help them as much as possible. It was sort of, all hands on deck. It was a big influx, and, I think it brought in a lot of people who maybe hadn't been to the store before. I can only hope that, they came in to get dot cakes and saw what else we had, right? And just it put us on the map for maybe people who didn't know who we were before. So that was something that was really rewarding from it.
Yeah, the marketing awareness is amazing, but I think there are real dangers to virality. And I think a massive con is that virality burns faster than the systems can catch up to. So exactly like Sarah's saying, our staff was not prepared for the masses of people that we had, and that was a real challenge for them. But I think another one is when you set a precedent and you open the door for these dialogues to happen on TikTok or whatever social media platform it is, that goes both ways. And that means that reviews and inbound also happen on TikTok or whatever social media it is. And I think that that's a very dangerous game to play, and you have very little control over things. So I don't love virality as a business model, but in terms of customer acquisition, it's massively powerful, but it's not how you keep a customer. So you can bring someone in through the door, but you need the quality and the warmth and the staff that are capable of getting them in a second time. And that's a totally different game than getting someone in the first time.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of going off of that, what is that approach? I mean, when you're viral, or just kind of in general, like how do you keep that customer coming back after you bring them in for the first time?
Well, I think it's, what we've been saying. I think if they come for a dot cake, but then they walk in and they're discovering so many more things, and they're seeing how we're curating items, and they're seeing our staff and how they're being treated in the store and the energy within the store, then that's when they say, oh, wow, I got this dot cake, but boy, do I want to come back to this market.
I think one thing that we've done, which is a little counterintuitive, but we pretty much ignore everything that's made us viral, and we cut the chicken nuggets a week into opening because that was such a viral item, and we try to cater towards the neighborhood repeat customer, and if the viral customer still comes in, that's great, but we will never build our business for the viral customer. It's fine if they come through the door, but we are building for the repeat customer that comes 5 times a week, and we will stay that path, and we will let virality come and go in waves, but we'll never prioritize that as a business.
Yeah, and I think that we've also found that because Butterfield has been around for so many years, it really is having the bones. It's having those bones and that structure that no matter what comes and goes in trends or social, whatever it is, like if you have that solid structure, you'll keep going.
So sometimes I think there's also an opportunity to engage with the customer who responds to the virality and build them as a repeat customer throughout the years. So Murray's we launched an advent calendar, cheese advent calendar, I believe it was 3 years ago at this point. And while it didn't have the viral exact moment, from an item movement perspective, it far surpassed our expectations. We were sold out instantly. And we've doubled, tripled, sometimes quintupled those numbers each year over the last few years. But as the mountain gets higher to climb in terms of those year-over-year benchmarks, we have to be much more disciplined in how we think about engaging that customer in a long-term conversation. And so, like we recognize that the customer who comes for the cheese advent calendar is not the same customer who comes for the weekly cheese board necessarily, right? It's more of a novelty that has brought them in, as opposed to like, I'm a passionate cheese person. So we said, okay, well, what can we learn about the customer who buys this advent calendar, and where do we think the long-term value could be driven with them, whether it's through the advent calendar or as a source of information and inspiration for additional product strategies, merchandising strategies, in the years to come. And so that's one of the ways that we would think about it, is like, okay, big mountain to climb. Let's get to know the landscape a little bit and figure out kind of what we need to do to continue to build on that.
And I think what you said really resonated with me. We're chasing quality. We have to continue to chase quality and continue to have great service. And when that sweet spot happens, that a trend might hit with our staples, that's really going to be our sweet spot. Because for us, we're selling our lasagna, we're selling our food on a regular basis, and that's the core customer that we have, that when we have these exciting things that pepper in to make a really exciting experience, that's what continues to make Citarella exciting and for you to keep coming back multiple times a week. So for us, we continue to chase quality and chasing great service, and that's where our sweet spot is, in hopefully getting some viral pieces in there.
And Helen and Elizabeth, you both kind of referenced this throughout the talk, but I'm curious, as you kind of are experts in specific fields, and you have seafood and cheese, like how do you kind of use that as a competitive edge while also having that halo of other products in the store?
I think it's all about the people. People are educated now. They're educated about food. Back in the day when we started 40 whatever years ago, you couldn't pull out your phone to say, oh, is this real, what I'm telling you, right? So knowing that we are going to be giving you real information, real sourcing, all of those things, I think that is our competitive edge. That experience in the industry, we've always been, number one in seafood, and everything that we've brought along has lived up to that standard. Our founder ensured that everything that we're bringing in continues along that path. And like I said, it's being able to say no and being selective and staying true to our brand, making sure things are delicious. And I think that's really where we find our sweet spot.
And I think at Murray's, we operate under the assumption that if you're coming into our stores, it's because you either love cheese or are curious about cheese, or you love somebody who loves and is curious about cheese. So the way we think about engaging with our customers is like, well, let's kind of take you by the arm and let me show you around the shop. Let me help you find the thing that's going to really delight you and make a memorable experience for you to come back to. And we really lean on that. Again, we win when we lead with cheese. We also have our own cheese caves where we age about 20 different cheeses that are proprietary to us. We enter them in competitions. And have built some knowledge and fan base around those things. And we think about it like Murray's really wants to be an open door for anyone who wants to know anything more about cheese, right? It doesn't matter how much you know. It doesn't matter if you're starting with Kraft singles or you're starting with our cave-aged cheese. Like, there's a place for you at our counter, and we really want to make sure that the way we educate and engage with you reflects that.